Should I dance?
Absolutely.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Ann Kapuscinski. I'm the chair of the Environmental Studies program here at Dartmouth in my second year of that job. Very interesting. Essentially added another full-time job to my daily life. I've been at Dartmouth about 3.5 years. I'm also a professor of sustainability science here, and I'm really happy to welcome you to this event because the topic we're going to be hearing about and discussing is very germane to the kinds of things we're talking about here at Dartmouth. We have both things in our curriculum, in the environmental studies major, for example, also in a new sustainability minor that we launched 2 years ago, and from the little I know of the Thayer School of Engineering curriculum, I know that also in that curriculum there are a lot of opportunities for students to learn about energy, learn about energy technology, learn how to use system dynamics, modeling, and other kinds of ways of systems thinking to think about our energy systems. Additionally, Dartmouth College, like many other higher education institutions around the country, is actively trying to figure out both how to treat the campus as a living laboratory for how to sort of demonstrate and try out ways to transition our whole society to more sustainable conditions. And at present, one of the things that includes at Dartmouth is about a year ago we completed a sustainability kind of strategic planning process, and one of the working groups was an energy working group, and that group, both during that time and since then, has been hard at work at designing a plan, a long-term plan for how Dartmouth could transition its own energy production system. The college is very dependent on number 6 fuel oil, I see that this evening Rosie Kerr, who is our fantastic director of the sustainability office, she sort of deals with campus operations and student life, and I'm sort of more on the curriculum academic side, but she and I interact on a very regular basis. We're always looking for ways to work together. But Rosie has been sort of leading the effort to engage in discussions with our trustees, for example, to sort of make the financial argument about financial risk involved in being so dependent on fossil fuels, and then linking that to all the other reasons to think about switching the energy system at this college, which really is a microcosm of the larger objective or goal, which any of us who've been paying attention to the latest information about climate change understand that really one of the biggest challenges facing our civilization right now is how are we going to decarbonize our economy. So Dartmouth, both in our curriculum, in these discussions about how to shift our campus operations, and even in student life activities, is very engaged with these things. Just to give you one small example of student life, a number of years ago, as a result of a problem-solving project that some environmental studies majors did, the college converted one dorm to being a sustainable living center. And the students there, we have to apply to be in that dorm. It's a lot smaller than we ideally. Eventually, we'd like to have all the dorms be sustainable living centers. But one of the things the students do there is they really work on changing their own behavior in order to reduce their energy use. So that leads me to just making sort of one final point in my introductory comments, which is my sense of part of what's involved in meeting this challenge of how are we going to decarbonize our economy is that it probably is going to require a portfolio approach. We're going to need to do things such as energy conservation, we're going to need energy efficiency, we're going to need to think really strategically, creatively, and smartly about the range of different kinds of technologies to use. And the specifics of the portfolio approach are probably going to vary by place, by region, by nation, obviously partly because of the differences in our climate, differences of, where some places are ideal opportunities for solar and wind, and other places that are maybe ideal for something else. But I think what's really exciting about the discussion we're going to have tonight is it really helps if you're involved, and I know many in the audience here are involved in trying to think through, well, what would be the portfolio approach here in the Upper Valley, and more broadly in the United States, which is obviously going to be a really tough nut to crack. It really helps to learn firsthand about cases that are emerging around the world, and Germany is clearly one of those cases where it appears that something really exciting is going on. There's a real sign of a transformation beginning in their energy system. If we can learn better about what were the conditions that made that possible, what were the institutional factors, both the formal policy, the informal, the cultural norms, the technology, the environmental conditions, if we can understand how those conditions came together and worked there, maybe we can draw some general lessons from that to then help us be better at making that happen here. I think a lot of Americans understand that the United States is kind of one of the toughest places to figure out how we're going to take a real systems approach and actually have a dramatic transformation of our energy system. So it's really tough, but that also is one of the reasons why it's really exciting to try to be part of making that happen. So I'm really delighted that you're all here and look forward to the discussions.
Thank you, Anne. My name is Dennis Rajeski, and I teach at Dartmouth College, a small school just across the street. But I do have one redeeming characteristic, and that is I do volunteer with Sierra Club, Amnesty International. Appalachian Voices, in about every organization has standards low enough to admit me. But first, briefly, context for why we're here. In 2006, the Sierra Club and the United Steelworkers of America organized a Blue-Green Alliance. We're trying to get a combination of environmental viewpoints and labor viewpoints to get our economy a bit greener than it has been. The Blue-Green Alliance has since expanded. It includes about every labor union you can name, educators as well as automobile workers, steel workers, etc. And about every environmental organization you can think of, a Union of Concerned Scientists, Greenpeace, etc. About the members of all of these organizations are about 40 million American citizens. And the Blue-Green Alliance annually organizes something called Good Jobs, Green Jobs, which is a conference workshop series. I just got back from the one this year, last week, from the one in Washington, where I got to meet with Nancy Pelosi and Governor Sherman of Vermont, and another number of experts giving workshops, and we all lobbied our congressmen and senators about trying to get more green jobs and a greener economy. But last year, for the 2012 version of Good Jobs, Green Jobs, Betsy, Elbridge, I, and Charlie McKenna attended that session. And there we met people from the Heinrich Foundation, and they helped organize a group of 9 American citizens who went to Germany to see what the Germans are doing about renewable energy and energy solutions. And they came back, those 9 people included Bob Walker, as well as Margaret Cheney, who's in the Vermont state legislature, and also gets influence from time to time a certain federal legislator. In any case, those people came back, and now, as a follow-on, we have a couple of people coming, funded by the Heinrich Böll Stiftung, who are going to be presenting tonight. But before that, I'd like to turn the microphone over briefly to Marta Cerrone, who will talk a little bit about the energy transition, the energy Wendung in Germany. Marta.
Hi, well actually I will leave it to the experts here to talk about the energy Wende tonight, but I'll just give a little bit of a background of what I'm doing as part of the Renewable Institute based in Norwich. And I'm very happy to be here and to hear other speakers before me give the context for this this encounter tonight, this discussion. Especially because I heard systems views being discussed, and at the same time the sense of green economies and green jobs. So at the Renewable Institute, I'm the director of the Sustainable Economies Program. We have moved from the Cobble Hill farm that maybe some of you know to Norwich, and we are focusing our programs on giving the emergence, giving a sense of momentum and emergence of these transitions that are happening in multiple places. But what is essential is that a lot of solutions are emerging at the regional level, and so the regions and the communities are really the place where a lot of thinking and a lot of the energy is, and a lot of the hope is. And so at the Institute we are really aiming to giving strength to this movement. It is a movement of thoughts and ideas and actions. And at the same time, we want to adopt a systemic view of the whole economy from a new perspective, a perspective that comes from the need of a region to be aligning their economies with their own values. So it's like how you bring values back into the economic system, and you empower people and communities and regions to actually act in that direction. So strengthening local economies in the sense of building resilience and building community. But at the same time, we are very interested in identifying what are the leverage points in all of this. Where can we actually make the most with the efforts that we can put to this kind of work. And definitely community-owned and distributed energy is one of such leverage points. And in that respect, there's a lot that we can do, not just from learning, of course, but also seeing what are the points of connection with the work that's been done in Europe and the success stories. You hear an accent here, I'm Italian. I was just told by Dirk here that Northern Italy has 40 energy co-ops that started long ago, and that made me very happy because the rest of Italy is not really there. So even in a country like Italy that is in big trouble, there are islands of success. The Renewable Institute is focusing on those islands of success, giving them a voice and emergence, and help coordinate and connect organizations that are already doing a lot of good work. And I don't want to talk any further because I know we have to talk about very important things here with the experts, really. So I'm looking forward to hearing more and learning more with you guys. Thanks, and give it the floor.
Thank you, Marta. And thanks everybody for coming tonight. I'm Bob Walker. I'm Director of the Sustainable Energy Resource Group. We're a nonprofit located in Thetford, right across the river. And we help to promote efficiency and renewables programs throughout the Upper Valley region and beyond. I wanted to thank the Heinrich Boll Foundation for bringing our speakers over and also for bringing me over to Germany last fall. I was very fortunate. Again, thanks to Charlotte and Dennis and the Sierra Club for connecting us to be chosen to go over to Germany last year to see some of these great projects in action. And I was very inspired by these community-based renewable energy initiatives. And I think what was so, exciting for me was how I could see that these same kinds of things could be implemented here. Because there's a real strong community and trying to do things at the community level in Vermont and New Hampshire. And I think that what was really effective there with these efforts was that the community was involved in making decisions of how these projects were developed, and then they were benefiting directly from them, from jobs in the community, from direct financial benefits from the projects coming back to the communities or the individual members if they were co-ops and things like that. So I'm really excited to have these folks here today to teach us some lessons about what's going on over there, and then so that we can all think about how can we maybe adopt some of these models to make them work for us here. Just briefly, also did want to thank the Dartmouth Energy Collaborative for helping to make the facilities available tonight, and the Sierra Club and the Mellow Meadows Institute for helping to organize everything. So first I want to introduce Rorik McCorriston, who is the Heinrich Boll Foundation. He'll have to tell you exactly what his role is there. And then we're going to hear from Andreas Wieg from Germany and Dirk Vansingen, close, he'll say it better, from Belgium. So thank you all, and I hope you get a lot out of this. We're going to have some presentation, and then there will be time for discussion, questions, and answers afterwards. Thank you. Yes. All right. Okay.
So thanks, Bob, and good evening, everybody. I'll keep this brief, actually, Foundation. But tonight we have already said what I've usually been saying. And Dennis also limited endorsement for us. So I'm the program director at the Renewable Foundation for the project called the Climate Network. It's an EU-funded project that does exactly what you just heard. We bring over Europeans who have something interesting to explain about the energy agenda and take Americans over there so they can learn as well. And so we're telling the story of the energy agenda. Andreas will get a little bit more into that in his presentation. I just like to say that we're making an effort. We're based in Washington, but we're putting emphasis on connecting community, local and community organizers and activists, stakeholders, because that's really where, that's been the driving motor in Germany and Europe and in the States for transition to renewable energies. So we do also work in Washington, taking a group of Hill staffers, for example, over to Germany in about a month. But we really learned to try to explain what's going on in the US at the state and local level to Europeans, and pointing out to Americans that when you're here, Germany is doing this, or Europe is doing that. These decisions aren't necessarily coming from Berlin or Brussels, the capitals of these places, but they're rooted in these citizen movements that have been going on for quite some time. So it does really start at the local level over there as well. And to demonstrate that, we have our two speakers tonight. Andreas Spiegel will speak first. Andreas is from the German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation. And Dirk van Jan is from Ego Power, which is a Belgian energy cooperative. So Andreas will give you a little bit of the theory, and Dirk will give you a little bit of the practice. So they'll tell their stories, and we hope it's of interest to you. And that ends this long list of introductory speakers. We can get to the main act now. We'll start with that. Oh, one disclaimer. In the slideshows, a lot of the figures, they were written in the European way. So the commas and decimals have been reversed, the decimal points. I think that Dartmouth can figure that out. And just wanted to point that out because we have a little confusion about that. Sorry?
Go metric.
Right. Okay, so without further ado, here's Andreas.
Yes, thanks for inviting us here, and it's a pleasure to present here something about the energy transition in Germany. And I'd like to give you some insights what happened in the last couple of years, especially in our organization, our cooperative association. Yes, my name is Andreas Spiegel, and I work at the German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation. It's the umbrella for rooftop organization of the cooperatives in Germany. And I'm the director of the executive staff department. So are there any business students here? Yeah. So my apologies, the only advice I can give in my presentation is if you have the opportunity, don't do this kind of job. So the funny part of my job is to support the foundation of cooperatives, and we provide several tools for the founders, for inspiring guys like Dirk in Germany, and to support them to build up, to establish a cooperative. We provide the website and several things. Yes, our organization is, as I said, the umbrella organization of the cooperatives in Germany. If you try to visit us in Berlin, this is our headquarters. I don't know if you know Berlin. There's the Brandenburg Brandenburg Gate, and right next to our headquarters is the embassy of the US. So if you try to catch me, just move next door. And yes, in Germany we have about 8,000 cooperatives, and in the last couple of years, since 2007, 2008, about 650 new energy cooperatives were formed. 650, about 10% of our whole group, the cooperatives of our whole group. We have a long tradition in cooperative business, about 150, 160 years. And yeah, we have cooperative banks, rural cooperatives, food cooperatives, any kind of cooperatives. And yet most of them are really old. And now we have 10% of our group, 3, 4, 5 years old companies, cooperatives. And I'd like to give some insights about them. 650 new energy cooperatives is about 100,000 new members. Okay, you can see on the next slide, since 2007, 2008, there's this amazing increasing of the cooperatives. We have some traditional energy cooperatives. They act like regional energy supplier, municipal utilities, about 100 years old. And yes, I'd like to talk about the development since 2007, 2008. In Germany, we have a special law, special energy law. It's the Renewable Energy Sources Act. It was released in 2004, as you can see, and with a time lag in 2007, 2011, this law had an impact on the founding of cooperatives. So this Renewable Energy Sources Act has 2 key features. One feature is that the grid operator, the grid owner, has to purchase all the electricity which was produced by renewable energy sources. So if you invest in a PV plant or in a biogas plant and you produce electricity, it's no problem for you to sell all the electricity to the grid operator. There's an obligation for the grid operator. And the second feature is that we have a feed-in tariff system. So for 20 years, your return on the investment is guaranteed. So if you invest in a PV plant, over 20 years, you get the same return on investment. So it's a very safe, secure investment. And yeah, it was a very easy situation for everyone in Germany to put a PV panel on top of their roof, even on top of the rooftops of churches and kindergartens and any kind of buildings. And yeah, that's why in a lot of regions in Germany, people came together, put their money together, and they made common investments. They invested together in PV panels on the one side. Most of the new energy projects started with solar energy projects. Now they try to do different other things. And the other main business model is district heating systems. You know what it is, a district heating system? Bioenergy village, we call it in German, it's Bioenergiedorf, where the inhabitants of the village produce the heat and provide the heat for themselves, for their own households. It's a closed shop approach. They are completely independent of other utilities. So these are the 2 main business models: investments in solar energy, producing electricity with PV panels, and on the other hand, the is, that's what I want to stress out tonight, is why do they use the cooperative structure? What's the reason for doing this? Or otherwise, what's the contribution of the cooperative model, these kind of community-based energy projects, to solve a huge problem of the energy transition in Germany? The most important problem, one of the problems of the energy transition in Germany is that the acceptance of the people. And I try to explain this, and I'd like to step back in time. 150, 160 years ago, one of our pioneers, cooperative pioneers, Friedrich Wilhelm Raiffeisen, you know him? Ever heard his name? Okay. Everywhere in the world, everyone knows Friedrich Wilhelm Raiffeisen, except Germany and US. So we have Raiffeisen cooperatives, Raiffeisen federations in Asia, in Africa, in Southern America. Okay. And Raiffeisen was a mayor in the western part of Germany, near Cologne, in a really small village. And he had a problem that the farmers in the village were very, very poor. And some of them had the opportunity to take a ship to America, and some of them had to remain there, their home, to stay at their home. And most of the farmers were heavily indebted by moneylenders. There was a circle of poorness in these villages, all over the German states. And Raiffeisen thought, what can I do as a mayor? It's my responsibility. What can I do? We should try to do something together. What? And he had the idea, okay, let's try to create something like a common debt security. A debt security of the whole village. Which means if one farmer fails, there are a lot of other farmers who can help him. And with this common debt security of the whole village, he went to the city, not to the moneylender, he went to the city, to a bank, and said, okay, this is the common debt security of my village, and I'd like to get a lot of money. And the banker said, okay, sounds good. If all the farmers fail, the whole village is mine. And he got a lot of money because of his debt security. And I'm not sure if it's a good idea in times of financial crisis to talk about getting money without money, because the farmers had no money. They can't help themselves with money. And the solution was a common debt security. One each for all for each. And this was the starting point of our rural cooperative banks in Germany. Most of them survived until now. And the second reason is why they were so successful and are so successful right now is that the cooperative model is a local approach, a regional approach. And in Germany we call this, it is the church spire principle, which means, so we have huge church spires in Germany. If you're on top of the church spire and you look around in your village, the last guy you can see is the last member you can get into your property. Which means you have to stay in touch with your members. And this was really important for the success of the rural cooperative banks. And because Raiffeisen had a problem, okay, now I have